Hello, my lovely rose garden. This is Avalon.
And Ray.
And I just realized that we could have been calling this Throne of Ass the entire time.
And there goes any chance at monetization.
Don't worry, we have that 15-second intro that plays at the beginning.
Yes.
You'd really think that you'd see more people making like little intros like that with the whole demonetized if you swear in the first whatever amount of seconds.
I don't know.
I don't think ass is a bad enough one to get you demonetized. I think it's just like the F word.
I mean, they said ass in a Disney movie.
Yeah.
Pinocchio, look it up.
Yeah. So, I think we're fine. I think we're good. Anyway, we're on chapter 21. Winnie's drinking her water like a little freak so she can be quiet. And it is not because the dish is almost empty. It's nearly full, so she's just being very demure. Very mindful. Yes, I am on TikTok. How did you know? We're also on Patreon, which is where you can go for early access and now exclusive content as well. Some of that exclusive content includes the videos where we talk about my old writing with the same fervor as we do books like Throne of Glass. And also, I am now accepting patron requests for exclusive shorts and drabbles. So if there is a scene that you would like to see between a couple of my characters that may or may not be canon, but it's not in the published books, but you're like, hey, I want to see this scenario, I am taking requests for that and have filled 3 so far. So that's a lot of fun. And now would be a really great time to join our Patreon because I am preparing for a new book release. And there are tiers on Patreon that get your name in the acknowledgement section of my published works. In case you were interested. Great time to help out an indie author.
Yep.
And with that, let's fucking get into it because I get the feeling that Winnie's inching toward the litter box. So let's go before she goes. Alysicles dangled from the stone wall of the castle, her legs trembling as she dug her tar-covered fingers and toes into the cracks between the giant blocks. Brullo shouted something at the other 19 remaining champions scaling the castle walls.
Okay, so we're starting in the middle of a challenge.
Because, we definitely didn't need any lead-in to that. Just a bunch of repetitive conversations that we've been getting for the last couple chapters. We're almost halfway through, at least in terms of chapter count. I feel like the later chapters are going to get much shorter, thankfully. But yeah, also, bold decision for them to have the second test be scaling the castle wall when they just killed a guy for trying to escape.
Truly, this palace is run by just the biggest brainiacs.
The Empire's finest minds.
The wrinkliest brains they could find.
The grayest of gray matter. But from 70 feet up, the wind carried his words away. One of the champions hadn't shown up for the test, and even his guards hadn't known where he went. Maybe he'd actually managed to escape. Or maybe he got fucking murdered. We are not spending... And I'm just going to say it here. We are not spending nearly enough time on this whole murder mystery thing.
We're not spending enough time on the murder mystery. We're not spending enough time on the trials. We're not spending enough time on the political intrigue. It's mostly just focusing on fucking Alysicles and her inane desire to constantly insist that she is a badass while doing nothing badass.
Like, we keep getting these very interesting plots sort of dangled. And like stupid fish, we keep biting at the bait. But then like an even stupider fisherman, SJM just yanks the bait away. And it's like, that's not how you catch a fish, SJM. That's not how this works.
I mean,
you're supposed to reel us in once we get on one of those plot hooks, not keep taking them away.
I guess this fulfills the needs of people who like badly written banter and very bland main characters.
I feel like, and I could be misremembering because, again, my brain is Swiss cheese, I feel like there was at one time a criticism going around of things being like too fast paced and we need more time to establish the characters. And then shit like this started coming out where it's mostly just spending time with the characters, but the characters themselves aren't interesting enough.
This isn't establishing the characters. It's all just boring.
The characters are established and they're failing to live up to what was established. So it just sounds disingenuous and boring. Disingenuous?
Yeah, disingenuous.
Goddamn, words are hard. Alright, anyway. At least we're on a challenge, but again, we're just being thrown right in, which tells me that, like, this is just a prediction. I feel like less than half of this chapter is probably going to be about the actual challenge.
Well, yeah, and, like, assumedly, with, you know, her arms quaking as she's struggling to hold herself up, she's been at this for a bit. Like,
they're 70
the
feet
lactic
up.
acid in her muscles is starting to, like, sweat out, and her muscles are screaming now. So...
Oh, now I'm just thinking about that one episode of Magic School Bus.
Oh?
Where the kids, like, mop up the lactic acid with the mops. So Miss Frizzle can win the rowing contest.
Yeah.
That's how I learned about that. But yeah, they're 70 feet up. So, yeah, they're probably just about done here.
Yeah. I'm just like, wow, we've been waiting for this challenge and we come in.
For like the last, what, 5 or 6 chapters?
Yeah.
God. Anyway. Risking it seemed better than this miserably stupid test anyway. She gritted her teeth. Just grit. She grit her teeth. Inching her hand upward and pulled herself up another foot. 20 feet up and about 30 feet away flapped the object of this insane race, a golden flag. The test was simple. Climb the castle to where the flag waved 90 feet in the air to retrieve it. Okay, so we're in the last third. First one who grabbed the flag and brought it back down received a pat on the back. Last one to reach the designated spot would be sent back to whatever gutter they came from. Surprisingly, no one had fallen yet, perhaps because the path to the flag was fairly easy. Balconies, windowsills, and trellises covered most of the space. Alysicles scooted up another few feet, her fingers aching. Looking down was always a bad idea, even if Arabin... Oh my god, they just used his first name and not Arabin Hamill. We've done it. We've made it. Progress. Had forced her to stand on the ledge of his assassin's keep for hours on end to become accustomed to heights. Worst teacher on the planet, anyway. She panted as she grasped another window ledge and hoisted herself up. It was deep enough that she could crouch within, and she took a moment to study the other competitors. Sure enough, Cain was in the lead and had taken the easiest path toward the flag, Graven Varen on his trail, Nox close behind, and Pelor, the young assassin, not far below him.
Pelor!
Pelor! Give it up for Fluttershy!
Yeah!
There were so many competitors following him that their gear often got tangled together. They'd each been given the opportunity to select one object to aid them in their ascent. Ropes, spikes, special boots. And sure enough, Cain had gone right for the rope. She'd taken a small tin of tar, and as Alysicles rose from her crouch in the windowsill, her sticky black hands and bare feet easily gripped the stone wall. She'd used some rope to strap the tin to her belt. I thought they only got one thing. Where'd she get the rope from? And before she stepped out of the shade of the sill, she rubbed a little more on her palms. Someone gasped below, and she swallowed the urge to glance down. She knew she'd taken a more difficult path, but it was better than fighting off all the competitors taking the easy route. She wouldn't put it past Graver Varen to shove her off the wall. Her hands suctioned onto the stone, and Alysicles heaved herself upward just in time to hear a shriek, a thump, and then silence, followed by the shouting of onlookers. A competitor had fallen and died. She looked down, don't fucking idiot,
Don't do it.
and beheld the body of... Shit, I lost my place. Ned Clement, the murderer who'd called himself the Scythe and spent years in the labor camps of Calaculla for his crimes. So both of the serial killers are now dead. The two probably most interesting ones to have in this competition are now both dead. Because Bill the Eye Eater and now Ned.
Bill and Ned, so close.
Bill and Ned's murderous adventure.
You think they're gonna have a radical off-screen adventure with the Grim Reaper?
No. I would pay to read it, but no. Yeah. Oh, fuck, where was I? Okay. A shudder went through her. Though the murder of the Eye Eater had made many of the champions quiet down, the sponsor certainly didn't seem to care that this test might very well kill a few more of them. It's almost like that's the fucking point. Keep up.
What kind of Hunger Games ripoff is this? Of course they want you all dead.
She shimmied up a drain pipe, her thighs clinging to the iron. Kane hooked his long rope around a leering gargoyle's neck and swung across an expanse of flat wall, landing on a balcony ledge 15 feet below the flag. She fought her frustration as she worked her way up higher and higher, following the course of the drain pipe. The other competitor shuffled along, following Kane's path. There were a few more shouts, and she looked down long enough to see that Grave was causing a backup because he couldn't manage to toss his rope around the gargoyle's neck as Kane had.
Oh, I guess they all have rope.
Oh, okay. Varen nudged the assassin aside and moved past him, easily securing his own rope. Nox, now behind Grave, made to do the same, but Grave started cursing at him, and Nox stopped, lifting his hands in a gesture of placation. Lifting his hands? They're climbing up a fucking wall. I mean, I guess they're on a ledge? Maybe yeah, okay. On a balcony ledge. Okay, yeah, so I guess he can do that, but you would not catch me doing that shit. Smirking, Alyssocles braced her blackened feet on a stabilizing bracket, holding the pipe in place. She'd soon be directly parallel to the flag, and then only 30 feet of bare stone would separate her from it. This is actually a very short chapter. It looks like this challenge is going to be the entire chapter, which is why it's so fucking short. Couldn't even see the whole thing. Which I guess I can't be too mad about, because I'm sure the first 70 feet of climbing were very boring. But
still, it would have been nice to have like an
initial reaction.
The reaction. Alyssocles throws up for good luck.
Or like a strategy meeting with her and Dorian. Yeah. Where they... See, and this is what I don't like. How they're playing her to just be, average in everything. Because she does still need to show that there was something about her that was worth bringing to this contest. So they should really be, building a profile for Lillian and saying, like, okay, if it's a contest that deals with, like, agility and dexterity, that'll be where you really can show off. But if it's a strength-based one, then pull it back a little bit. Yeah. So they could be showing that she does have some strengths so that the competitors could start, trying to plan around those things.
I'm just
And then, surprise, she could actually fence with her left hand too, like...
See, like, I'm kind of frustrated in the fact that it's all like, if you fall off and die, obviously you get eliminated. But, like, the only auto-elimination is just the last person to get back. I feel like, ideally, there would be a bunch of flags, and whoever comes back with a flag isn't eliminated.
Yeah.
Because, right at the moment, we just have all of these kind of nameless people that we don't give a shit about. We got, 3 or 4 named... Challengers. And it's like... It feels like Sarah J. Maas doesn't really care to, write these challenges, which is why we're starting in the middle of one. So that would be an easy way to eliminate a bunch of the nameless mooks that no one cares about.
Yeah, or just... It would also give a different strategy because, if there's more than one flag and you can take someone else's flag,
Yeah.
then we could see who are the challengers that are confident they can get up there, get it, and get down.
Yeah.
And who are the challengers who know they can't get up there, but they can sure as hell get part of the way up and then beat someone else.
Exactly.
Because not all of them should realistically be able to climb like this.
Yeah.
And also, why would a champion need to?
It's just, it seems like she didn't think this through.
I mean, she definitely didn't. And on your point of it seems like she doesn't like writing these challenges, my brain immediately went, because she doesn't. Mm-hmm. And then my brain asked, but then why would you write a book about these kinds of trials and challenges if you don't like writing
Hunger
it?
Because Games is popular.
And then my brain supplied that answer.
Yeah.
Tournament arcs and shit are popular.
Listen,
so gotta have one.
As someone who has a love-hate relationship with tournament arcs, I watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z as a kid.
And Yu Yu Hakusho.
And Yu Yu Hakusho and other shonen anime before I stopped for a while and then got back into it slowly. Listen, I watched a lot of tournament arcs. And either your tournament arc is really good or it's awful. There is no in between.
Yeah, pretty much. And this one, unsurprisingly,
is awful.
Just terrible.
I hate it.
0
I
out of
hate
10.
being here because the author also hates being here and hates writing these challenges. And you can tell.
You can tell. Alysicles eased farther up the pipe, her toes sticking to the metal. I feel like this is the second time we've heard some part of her body is sticking to some kind of metal. 15, so we have had maybe 2.5 pages and we're already getting repetitive with this challenge, so I can see why she skipped the beginning, but, a strategy meeting would have been nice.
Yeah.
15 feet below her pipe, a mercenary was clutching the horns of a gargoyle as he set about fastening his rope around its head. He seemed to be taking the faster route across a cluster of gargoyles. Then he'd have to swing onto a landing 18 feet away before making his way to the other gargoyles on which Grave and Nox now quarreled. She was in no danger of him trying to scale the drain pipe to bother her, so inch by inch she moved up, the wind battering her hair this way and that.
Why didn't she tie her hair up?
Yeah, wouldn't that be an obvious...
Why doesn't she tie her hair up for these challenges? Is it because of the aesthetic?
I guess so.
Because otherwise it's a very stupid move.
I tie my hair up to do the fucking dishes, like...
Just in general, a bunch of long hair is going to get in your way no matter what you're doing.
Stupid.
Like, if you are walking down the street, super long hair is going to get in your way. I know, because I used to have super long hair.
It was then that she heard Nox shout, and Alysicles looked in time to see Grave shove him from their perch atop the gargoyle's back. Get on the gargoyle's back! Nox swung wide. Nox. I'm an idiot. Nox swung wide, the rope wrapped around his middle, going taut as he collided with the castle wall below. Alysicles froze, her breath catching as Nox scraped his hands and feet against the stone to catch hold. But Grave wasn't done yet. He bent under the guise of adjusting his boot, and Alysicles saw a small dagger glint in the sunlight. How he'd gotten the weapon past his guards was a feat in itself. Or maybe it's the item he picked to help him with the climb?
I don't know.
Alysicles' warning cry was carried away by the wind as Grave set about sawing Nox's rope from its tether on the gargoyle. None of the other champions nearby bothered to do anything, though Pelor paused for a moment before easing around Grave. If Nox died, it was one less competitor, and if they interfered, it might cost them this test.
I still want Pelor to be revealed as the killer. So bad.
I know. Alysicles knew she should keep moving, but something kept her rooted to the spot. Oh no, an underhanded guy is going to do an underhanded deed against another guy who's definitely done shit in his past too. Oh no.
I'm just like...
I care so much.
Why is this so, like, jarring to anybody or anything? Because these are all criminals.
No one is surprised and no one cares.
Yeah.
like, Nox is one of the few other competitors that has had any amount of screen time, and I think we're supposed to give a shit about him because he's kind of friends with Alysicles. But also, I was just waiting for him to stab her in the back anyway, so I don't particularly care.
That would have been a perfect twist.
Like, they're all trying to win. Anyone that she becomes friendly with is inevitably going to try to win against her, so I don't find myself getting particularly attached, except for those that I think might actually... I mean, obviously they won't kill her, because she's the main character, and she is the most badass here, apparently.
And there are multiple books.
But... You know, if I was going to be like, oh, realistically, I think that character might stand a fighting chance against her, those are the only people I give a shit about, and Nox is not one of them.
I care about Pelor.
I care about Pelor mostly for the meme, and that's it.
Pelor Protection Squad.
Yeah, anyway. Nox couldn't find a hold on the stone wall, and without a nearby ledge or gargoyle to grasp, he had nowhere to go but down. Once the rope broke, he'd fall. One by one, the threads of his rope snapped beneath Graves' dagger, and Nox, sensing the vibrations, looked up at the assassin in horror. Oh no, a assassin is doing something underhanded to kill a guy. Oh. Woe be upon ye.
Anyway.
If he fell, there was no chance of surviving. A few more slices of Graves' blade, and the rope would be severed entirely. The rope groaned. Alysicles moved. She slid down the drain pipe, the flesh of her feet and hands tearing open, as the... More hand trauma. As the metal cut into her skin. But I don't think the metal is cutting into her skin. I think the tar would be sticking. But anyway. But she didn't let herself think of the pain. The mercenary on the gargoyle below only had time to lean into the wall as she slammed onto the creature's head, gripping its horns to steady herself. The mercenary had already tied one end of his climbing rope around the gargoyle's neck. Now she seized it and tied the other around her own waist. The rope was long enough and strong enough, and the 4 gargoyles perched beside hers would provide enough space to run. Touch this rope and I'll gut you, she warned the mercenary, and readied herself. Nox shouted at Grave, and she dared to look at where the thief dangled. There was a sharp snap of rope breaking, and Nox's cry of fear and rage, and Alysicles took off, sprinting across the backs of the 4 gargoyles before she launched herself into the void. And that's where the chapter ends, with only one line of dialogue from Alysicles. Merciful. Merciful, short. My previous assumption was wrong. The challenge did last the entire chapter and isn't done yet. Looks like it will continue into the next chapter and then wrap up, and the next chapter will also be fairly short, and then chapter 23 will go back to the normal length. I'm just kind of skimming the pages.
Yeah.
Not a lot to say about this one. Clearly this is not Sarah J. Maas's strong suit, and probably not the content that she was most excited to write after a point, even though that is what the premise of the book is, but it's not offensive.
It's just kind of frustrating, in the end, that, she really set up this premise, and then it's only, 10% of the actual page time?
Maybe, if that.
If that.
Yeah, so... But that's a larger problem with the book as a whole, as opposed to this one particular chapter. I do find this more entertaining, I think. Probably because Alysicles barely talks. And there's no, aside from a few repetitive descriptions, there's no fat to trim here. It's just, one...
Yeah, it was a pretty short chapter,
2,
honestly.
3, slightly more than 3 pages.
Other than,
2 of them are half pages, so slightly more than 3 pages of just, here's action.
Yeah, there's some repetitive language in there that could be tidied up, but otherwise...
Yeah, otherwise it's just an action scene.
Slightly boring action scene.
Yeah, certainly I've read better action scenes, but in terms of the rest of, what else would I have wanted in this chapter in place of the action scene? Nothing really. I I would rather be reading this than another dull exchange between her and one of her love interests.
Dorian or Kale.
Or fucking Lady Catherine or any of that bullshit. I would rather have a mediocre action scene than a frustratingly bad character interaction. So that's that. I hope you'll join us next week for the exciting conclusion to this challenge, where I'm sure she will get yelled at by Kale, Dorian, or both for risking her life for someone else. Or, no, okay, here's my prediction. Kale's gonna be mad at her for not sticking to the plan and rescuing someone, and Dorian is gonna be like, wow, she has a heart. And then they'll, like, bicker with each other for 2 sentences. And that's how I predict that this will end.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
And then Knox may or may not be grateful to her. Like, probably grateful that she saved him, but probably not grateful enough to throw any tests in her favor in the future.
Yeah. And then Alyssa Cleese throws up for good measure.
And then she throws up, yeah. Okay, and so we'll find out next week if our predictions come true. See you then.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching, and a special thank you to my patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or in the description below, please consider joining my Patreon. Your support means so much to me and allows me to continue making content. If you want to support my content in different ways, consider buying my books, donating on Ko-fi, subscribing to the channel, or even just giving this video a like and comment. Any and everything is appreciated so much. Keep growing till next time, Rose Garden!